What's up? Look at you. You look all ready to go.
Let's go. So good to see you. How are you? What's new and exciting?
Beautiful weather we're having today.
I mean, being from Buffalo, this is what I love. This
I know. I was
is great.
thinking that too. I was like, he'll be fine. It's probably like 80 degrees to him.
I'm proud of you that you're not wearing gloves or hat. That's great.
No, you should have seen me before you got here. I was all like, oh, my cute old tennis skirt. I was like, nope, nope.
So, congratulations.
Thank you.
How exciting.
Thank you.
Let's see the ring. Ooh! That is unbelievable.
Thank you.
You did well.
You know, Nicole Rose.
Mm-hmm.
She was all about. She made this one.
She killed it. Good for him.
All right.
We going?
Yeah. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, my pleasure. This is awesome. Have you played here before?
No, Jason. When I say play, I mean like I'm pretty much Happy Gilmoreing my ass off the range.
That's a great guy to follow right
That's
there.
That's true.
New Happy Gilmore number 2's coming out.
Is it gonna be the same people?
No, it's all different people.
Like Adam Sandler?
It's like you have a lot of the same people, but like all like current celebrities, current golf pros, etc.
Oh, that's gonna be cool.
It's gonna be so good. How do you like living out here?
I love it.
Yeah.
I really love it. It's like the perfect happy medium.
Yeah.
Between like being on the East Coast and having like a city feel, you know?
Yeah.
And then, how long have your parents been out here?
Been out here since like I think 2016, so like 8-9 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So do you come? Is this where you come? Like when you come home?
For Christmas and like Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So, yeah. This is it now. It was Dallas. Actually, it was Dallas before here.
That's right. Because we had all these cities like.
Yeah. Spread out all. My brother's in New York.
Your brother's in New York, and you're half.
I'm in Nashville now, but I was gonna do the half New York thing, and there's some headaches, but now I'm actually like full speed going into it. So it's gonna be like either February or February or April, depending on there's a possible like.
Wait, so
competition show I might be doing. I don't know. Let's see.
What?
Yeah,
Are you in Dancing with the Stars?
No, Dancing with the Stars isn't filmed till.
Oh.
Fun,
Jason, I would not be surprised if I saw you on Dancing with the Stars. That would be sick.
That would be sick.
I know, a little like BTS, like showing, like with the other people I did, we talked like a lot about, because I did some Vanderpump people, so we kind of like, I did Allie Luber and James Kennedy. I was actually supposed to do Nick's podcast while I was out there, but then they wanted me to like watch an episode, the new Charm episode, and like talk about it, and I was like, I just don't really like how that feels. I'm happy to talk about like my experience with it, but like I don't really want to talk on the new season.
Yeah.
I mean, these are my dad's club, and they're tailored, old clubs, and they're tailored to him.
Should be entertaining. Do you need a hand? Do you
Wait,
want me to get these?
how do you do it? Like this?
You killed it. You have a master's hat on. Come on now.
Dude, false advertising. My mom got me this at the gift shop.
So how's your golf game? You can play a little bit?
Hit it off the tee. Pointers are appreciated.
On it. So last time I saw you, you were just getting off the show. Life was different, lots changed. That was like a year ago, right?
It was a year ago, because I was on your podcast the same weekend we were filming Reunion.
Oh, wow.
Because remember I was like texting you about how nervous I was?
Yeah. How did you feel like the reunion went?
It was all a bit of a blur. Do we just pick up tees on the ground? But I always like hit above it.
You hit above it?
Like as in I completely.
Oh, so then a tee will help, because a tee will help you get under it.
Okay.
So how long after the reunion did you find out that like you weren't going to be on the next season?
Oh, I found out I wasn't going to be on the next season like 2 weeks before filming.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Damn. I was like, this phone call is just the first of like, I just knew. I was like, they're not gonna redo it.
Did you think about just like going crazy in the reunion, just really stirring it up for the last run?
Well, I did drop the C word for the first time in my life.
You did? Oh my gosh, I didn't see that.
Jason, you didn't watch?
Shit, I missed that.
Well, yeah, no, reunion was nuts. Because it was like, after watching the show.
I watched clips of it though, I remember.
Did you?
Yeah, that clip I didn't see. I missed that one, because I would have remembered it.
All right, let's see.
Oh, little cold out here.
All right, from Buffalo.
A little choppy. We
a little
gotta
choppy.
warm up a little bit.
Okay.
That was a good swing.
That was
I just got
practice swing.
dirt in your face. Just shot dirt at you. All right, let's see what you got here.
Okay.
This first swing of the day right here.
All right. Well, I'll pretend that first one didn't happen.
Slow it down. Bam. There we go. Wow.
Yeah.
Let's go. I'll be here all day.
Wait, so, okay, I'm not gonna lie, I obviously did like my due diligence homework and did like a deep dive into Jason Tartick.
Oh boy.
And
how deep of a dive did you do?
I was like, I felt pretty good, I had all my questions, I just wanted to go through and like see other ones that you've, other interviews you've done and get like a fresh new angle, but you've quite literally been asked all the questions. I was like, what am I gonna ask him that other people haven't asked him? So I apologize if it's a little redundant, but
no, fire. I actually haven't like done. I feel like an interview that's like non-business focused in a little bit of like 8 months or so.
Are you tired of talking about the Bachelor stuff?
No, I mean, I think it's part of like none of this happens if that didn't happen. You know? So it's just part of the story. So I don't get tired of it.
Good, because I have some questions.
Yeah. Oh, you can. I'll answer
as
many as I can.
But especially as like when you're, wanting to talk about like promoting something. Like I kind of had the same thing with off season. I was excited to go on podcasts and talk about it, but inevitably you're gonna have to talk about the old shit, like the drama and stuff. And it's like, yes, part of me is like, I got here because of all of that, but the other part is like, when do we move on,
Yeah, I know, for sure. So what Bachelor questions you got?
Well, probably some you've already answered, but I don't know the answers to. I was curious who encouraged you, what was your thought process going into it, and then who in your life discouraged it?
Okay, so I was a banker, and they did this, Gilda Radner was a comedian, and she died abruptly of ovarian cancer. And so they created a non-for-profit called Gilda's Club. And they raise money for people and families that are undergoing cancer treatment. And so they did a Gilda's Club Bachelor auction in New York, and they got 30 guys, all different ages and professional backgrounds, to have their company sponsor them and then raise money, and then they do a big bachelor auction. So there's like this big walkway, and everyone is black tie, everyone dresses up, and people bid on you to go on a date. And then when they bid on you, they also get all this other stuff. They'll get like a gift certificate here and all this stuff. So it's to raise money. And so that day there's 30 guys, and I came out like just ripping. I started stripping. I was like working the crowd. I just went nuts. And I earned the most of
the spotlight
I was ready to go. And then so I earned the most that day. My best buddy earned the second most. And it was like 9 months later, he calls me. He's like, dude, I got the craziest thing to tell you. I was like, I got the craziest thing to tell you. And we both got calls from The Bachelor. We're both, our understanding is it came from that night. There's like 3,000 people there, and there were like a lot of videos circulating of us like dancing, all this stuff.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. So you didn't really go through like a typical casting
There's always
process?
So many different ways that people land on that show.
Yeah.
Like there's some people that are just walking in a grocery store and a casting director comes up to them. So that was our story, and then I ended up going on. But everyone in my life was like, don't do it.
Really? Everyone said don't?
Because I didn't even live in New York anymore. No, they were like, hell no. My mom was like, I have 3 men in my life, your dad, your brother, and you, and my one escape is The Bachelor. Like it's like her favorite show. So she was like, no. And then I was, and I was doing well with banking and stuff, and they moved me from New York to Seattle. And everyone's like, dude, like your things are good. Why? You're not a reality TV guy. Like, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't know, ABC's knocking at your door. I'm not gonna say no.
Right.
And I was like miserable with my job. I'd just been grinding so much. Did the MBA thing. I was just like, I'm done. I'm like, why would I not do this?
I was listening to you on what's that podcast? My gosh, Phoenix or Lennox? No, it's one you just kind of you were hungover during it. because y'all had gone out the night before.
Oh, Felix. Felix is great.
Felix. I was listening to that and like hearing you talk about like what your thought process was before you were like considering being a sport agent.
Yeah.
And then you were talking about how, you know, once you got on the show and then after doing it, that's when you started thinking about, like, fame wasn't on your radar at all before. Yeah. And then after the show, you're like, of course, I started thinking about like the exposure from it and like opportunities that could stem from it and how you just kind of like shifted that. Did you feel like there was any pressure once the show ended to like keep the momentum going with like your like public eye figure? Like, were you like? I
just didn't know much about this space at all. So I remember some people on our show, they knew like I remember in like rose ceremonies, they knew like if you wear certain colors, people will pay more attention. Stop. Some people had stylists and they like had like clothes shipped to the mansion. Some people were like I didn't really know much about Instagram.
The dudes had.
This is, by the way, this is 2018.
Right.
And there were some people that knew like every angle of Instagram. I barely knew how to post a photo.
Yeah.
So I was so ignorant to it. So when I went on it, I wasn't like, oh, I'm only going for love. I was like, I'm going for experience. Like I didn't think I was gonna last long. I'm like, this is just gonna be. I'll talk about this at happy hours for the rest of my life. Like this is gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Then I got off, and then I think it was like it was just like Lori, right, called me for a weighted blanket deal or something like that, and I think it was like 15 or 20 grand to post a photo with a weighted. And I was like, what? Like, wait a second. And, as a banker, MBA, I'm seeing all these companies, these industries. I'm like, how that? Like, for a photo? That's when I was like, oh, shit, this is no joke. But even after, I didn't feel pressure to, like, stay in this game because I didn't know what the game was.
Right.
And then I learned more about the industry and how it works and all this stuff. And I fell in love with just, like, the speed at which it goes and the communities that are built from it and the experiences, the people you get to meet. It was life-changing.
Because you all have such like a strong brotherhood, I feel like The Bachelor, and same with the girls. Like there's just, it's like a bonding experience. Like you're friends with all of them.
No! Delete that one.
No way, we gotta balance this out.
Hands are frozen here. It's a little cold in here, making excuses.
Chilly. How long from when you wrapped Bachelor in Paradise before you went and ventured out and worked on your own thing? Like when did Trading Secrets? Wow, what? That one just like.
Okay, there we go. So I got off the show and then I came in third, joke around, I got a bronze medal. Got dumped right before Fantasy Suites.
Oh, damn. Damn, you didn't even get the golden ticket.
And I got offered. That was actually.
I'm going to hit a lawn person.
That one. I got asked to go on Paradise, but I actually said no. I said no because my company at the time was like, dude, we just gave you 3 months. Like, you're not going on a beach. If you do, you're done. So I didn't go. And then there were, every year they typically interview 3 people or so to be the next Bachelor. So at the time they were interviewing Colton, Blake, and I. And I always thought it was going to be Blake. Blake always thought it was going to be me. And then
I thought it was going to be you.
Yeah, it's why that whole thing was nuts. And then it was like Labor Day weekend. We got a text from all the producers on a group chat. Like, we're going to call you guys. We're going to tell you who we picked. And they called us right then and there and told us they picked Colton. So that was that. And then I met Caitlin on her podcast. Like,
why did I think y'all met in Bachelor in Paradise?
No, we met.
You met on her podcast?
Yeah, it was like a month and a half later.
I tell you, this podcast are like their own dating apps. Like, who am I interested in? Let's get her on the podcast.
No. I went on her podcast.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, that's, I feel like.
Well, I mean, it's.
Like, why not?
I guess you kind of, I don't know. You sit down for an hour and you're talking. Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
I've never really thought about that, but I guess you're right. You're
telling me you never saw someone that you were like kind of interested, attracted to, and then you're like, hey, let's get them on the podcast, and like there was never that thought process when you're picking someone?
The thing is I don't pick the people that come on.
Oh.
Yeah, we have like a team that does all that.
I wanted to ask
all
you
right, but I'll tell you this: when they bring the list,
yeah.
and they're like, all right, these are the 5 we just reached out to. I'm like, oh, okay, that one will be fun. If I was single, and actually the opposite too. Like when I'm in a relationship, if there's someone that I know is like, I don't know, let's say they're flirty or something like that, I'll be like, or I'll just be like, maybe that's not the best.
I would need a little look-see at that list if I was dating you.
Yeah,
of course I know what you're saying. All right, now you're just showing off. I'm over here hitting trees.
That tee's, that tee's off.
Practice swing again.
This is called the Olivia Special.
Okay.
You got this. Oh.
That would have been good if we were like, what, chipping?
When you're in I don't know, it's just like you meet people through work a lot. You know what I mean? So it's like think about your schedule on a Monday through Sunday with this world. I don't know, there's probably different events you're going to or podcasts or video editing,
there's no real structure to it. You kind of have to create your own.
You meet people through all this stuff. So especially when you're single, I feel like a lot of people meet through either work or extended connections through work or things like that.
Yeah.
So that's what I was gonna say. How did you, as you met your fiance after?
Yeah, I met.
How'd you meet him?
At a wedding. Oh,
that's cool.
Yeah, very.
That's
old
another. Yeah.
Fashion. He was.
That's great.
I'm gonna try the driver.
You need to start going to weddings.
Yeah, I was my dad's date to a wedding, and he was the usher. And my dad was like, I got a business meeting, but I'll meet you there.
Okay.
And he didn't, so I'm walking in this wedding by myself.
Wait, no way.
Yeah, I was like.
Did your dad set this up?
No. No. Yeah, I was walking in this wedding late by myself, tripped up the stairs, just disastrous. And then
you gotta tee that up.
I didn't ever.
That's very romantic. He was ushering and and then he met you right there.
He was like, should I take you down the aisle? I think I made a dad joke. I was like, it's a little soon, but okay. I got him there.
So did your dad just watch this all go down?
No, my dad was at his business meeting. He didn't even go to the ceremony. He met me at the reception. And I got stood up by my dad.
Yeah, that's wild. And then Prince Charming came in.
But then I was next to my dad the whole time, and I was like, this is my father, it's not a sugar daddy. I think the grass went farther than the ball.
Well, that's a good way to meet.
And your parents, they're still together?
They're still together.
How long have they been?
Years.
How long?
40 plus years.
Nice. I think my parents they're coming up on 42. Yeah. Is that important to you when it comes to who you date?
The more I meet people and the more I learn about other people's relationship with their parents, it's like I'm so thankful for mine because the stories.
That's when I really saw, right out of college, that's when I really saw how rare it was to have parents still together and that you're close with.
It's a dream. The best thing I have going for me is my parents.
Yeah.
And my family. So
I feel the same way. I feel with that, it's there became a pressure, not intentionally, but I created this pressure to want to do so well, solely to make them happy, you know, and so I put it in my head that I need to go to a good school, get a good job, do all these things. And then it wasn't until I was older I had a conversation with them and realized they just want me to be happy. There's no especially being from the South, when there's that societal pressure to lock it down early with a partner and something. And my parents were total opposite of that. They were go out and find your passion before you find your partner. That'll come. And that's something that I just am so incredibly grateful for, because I know a lot of people who there was that pressure to lock it down with someone early, and they didn't get to go, and they kind of got into a job, locked into a job that wasn't their passion. And I realized as I got older how important it was to have my parents be opposite of that.
Interesting. You talk about work and pursuing your passions. We're now seeing, everyone's getting as a country, as a society, everyone's getting married later, having kids later. Growing up in the South, people, like you said, most of the societal pressures are do the opposite.
Yeah.
it would be interesting to see like what is becoming, what's leading to more happiness or like sustainability. Is it getting married later, or do you find that like some of the people that got married younger and had their families are the happiest? I wonder like which is.
I think
there's
it's
no
just
perfect fit,
there's no perfect fit, because I know both sides. Like I know people who are already going through the divorce process and they got married like when we were barely out of college, and then I know some that are happy. But I just think it's like, what if you didn't take the time to really truly get to know yourself? Like I feel like I didn't start even doing like the self work and really like connecting with who I am until I was like 28, 29.
Yeah, I was gonna say like early 30s.
Yeah. So like I think without that, locking it down with another person, choosing to spend your life with another person before you really know what, like who you are, like what you want your life to be, I feel is a bit of a trap. At least that's how I would feel if I had done that. Like,
yeah, I get that.
I feel like I would have been super unhappy if I ended up marrying the person I was with all through college.
Yeah.
Like there would have been a massive amount of resentment at some point, because I didn't feel like I like truly followed or just like figured out who I was. Like how can I lock it down with someone when I don't even know who the heck I am?
100%. Look at us just figuring out life out here.
Can we figure out my back?
One swing at a time. Oh, that was a bomb.
Is a bomb a good
I feel
thing
good
in
about
golf?
that one. I think so.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
All right, let's go. Give it all you got. Bam. All right. Smoked it.
Do you want to get a drink?
Yeah,
do you
let's
drink?
do it.
Are you doing like dry January or anything?
Let's, no, let's do it.
Nice. No, I mean, how are you supposed to go without a liquor jacket?
A liquor jacket, I've never heard of that.
What? A liquor jacket?
I've actually never
Keep
heard of
you
that.
warm?
That's great.
So I'm about to go put one on right now.
That's genius. Are you guys starting to plan your wedding?
Jeez Louise. We have like barely scraped the surface. We've narrowed it down to North America. So that's about where we are.
That's wild.
It's just, but like, you know, Charleston.
Where were you thinking?
You got it.
Ready?
Uh-huh.
It's been a while. Here we go. Brushing off the rust. Ah! Hey, one more time. Reload.
Nice.
How's he do that? Got it? Here we go. No! Happy Gilmore. Left shoulder's up. Ah!
Oh, that was
wow.
nice. Wow.
That one worked. Did you get
Do you
that?
practice that? Do you practice that?
No.
How?
Oh, that was fun. Hopefully I didn't break your dad's club.
No more than I did.
Hey, you did great out there.
Thank you.
Happy Gilmore and all. Cheers.
Thank
Salud.
you. I'm a shooter. But remember when we were texting and I was like asking you all the questions about management? It was like when I was looking for a new manager and I was just getting your feedback. And we were going back and forth, and then you responded. Granted, it was like a day and a half later when you responded, and you said, "You are a terrible texter." But
I need to work on that. It's a red flag.
You texted me like a day and a half later and said, "Are you with anyone exclusively?"
Oh, I forgot about that. Oh my God.
You said, "Are you with anyone exclusively?" And because it was a day and a half later, I had already checked out of the conversation, so I responded. And I said, yes, I just met him at a wedding, and I started calling him.
Oh my God, I forgot about
on all the
that.
details, and then you responded and go, no, I meant representation, and I sunk into the couch. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened. I cannot believe that just happened.
Funny. Clear the air here. I was talking about
oh my God, but he said, are you with anyone exclusively? And I should have like scrolled up and I would have seen what we were talking about.
That was like bad wording on my end though.
It was? I agree.
That was bad wording on my end.
Oh my God, I sunk.
Way before then, there were like a couple people trying to set us up.
Oh yeah,
there, you know what I mean? I'll give you that. I'll give you that. My bad. I should have rewrote that text differently.
When you first came up with the concept of trading secrets, did it kind of evolve into something else, or was that always like the initial plan to have it be what it is now?
And for me, it was like, okay, pop culture meets money. So how can I get an interview with you that's gonna be different than the 10 other interviews you do, but also connects to like my brand? So that was the idea with it, and that's like the path we've stayed down. I've wanted to venture in other things. Like I want to do The next thing, but it'd be hard to do, would be like financial fraud. So like, have you ever had a story where someone like stole from you or like cheated you or scandaled through money? Like, so that's kind of.
Oh my God, are you gonna umbrella that under Trade Secrets, or are you gonna do something?
I'm thinking about it. But I think the biggest thing is like consistency and differentiation. Because like everyone right now is doing like gossip or this or that. So it's like you got to figure out what the lane is, and I think when you figure out what the lane is, identify it in 3 words. So if I tell you like right now, off season, 3 words, what is it?
Authenticity.
Okay.
Passion, and like behind the scenes, whatever the word for behind the scenes would be. Like that's, it's really just like, I don't want it to be, like I was saying to you earlier, I don't want it to be like a gossip clickbait. Like one of the things I love being on Southern Charm was the process of filming. I mean, we'd sit down, do these lunch scenes for hours, and then you'd only see like 3 minutes of it on the show, not even. And so, and there's just so many moments that we had that were so funny, and like you never see it. They never made out the cutting room floor, and it just, I remember thinking like, you could make a show solely based off like the BTS and the B-roll, and like the bloopers and stuff like that. And then, so then that kind of like turned into just creating an environment or a space for entertainment where you're having like real, genuine, like human connections, having conversations about how someone got to where they are, what their journey was like. That's why I love yours, because you've started in such a different place and you've capitalized on so many different arenas. And so it kind of like those 2 things are like what drove the idea. It's obviously like directing and producing has been like a dream of mine to do. And then there's all that other time, and you're like trying to keep up with the person. So I just kind of wanted to like focus in the lens on like what their life is and like what makes them who they are, and not necessarily the drama, like you going through, or like me going through like a public breakup, like that someone can relate to that, just like in the business world, like they had a breakup in the company or something like that, and they're like around that person, or having to like see them in school, you know, like there's just so many different aspects that people can relate to that I feel like sometimes gets like just kind of bypassed in like the mainstream TV.
Yeah, I think especially with breakups are crazy. I think everyone just has interest in a breakup because the relatability of it.
Yeah.
Everyone deals with it. So even if you take a public breakup, I think if you take a public breakup and you bring it to like, go to high school. Do you remember your first high school breakup? Or like, do you remember breakups in high school, right?
Yep.
So when there's breakups in high school,
like the end of the world.
What happened? All the cliques want to know. People are sitting at the certain lunch table, like taking sides. They immediately want to pull you apart and pin you against each other. Everyone just wants, and they want. It feels like not only do they want the tea, but they want action.
They want action, and they want the tea to be hot.
Yeah, and they want it
it's
to be
just
hot.
like.
And sometimes it's not, or I don't know, like it's just not. It's just. I protect the people I care for to a fault, to a self-sacrifice level actually, and so like I'm just not going to be that person that's going to put it all out there, unless it's like my character is being questioned in a serious level with a statement from that person. Then I'm going to come.
Then you're going to come.
But other than like, I'll come to defend, but other than that, it's like doesn't, like, there's a certain place for it, but it feels like now more than ever, I don't know why, breakups are just like
trending.
It's like, what the hell? And even I think my last breakup, like the things you like, I mean, I saw thousands of like predictions of what happened. Not one was right, not one. And then you hear like rumors, like the funniest rumor, there was one that people said that I reconnected with my high school sweetheart. It was like, and the best part about that, and obviously that's nonsense.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to her in for like 12, 15 years, but like I was getting messages from her friends who like obviously I knew in high school, like, holy shit, this is hilarious. They're sending me like Reddit blogs or like comments or like, this is hilarious. People actually think this, it's so funny. It's like
reconnecting with yourself. And do you find it hard to always be asked about something that you've worked hard to move on from? Like you've created closure for yourself, or you're working on getting closure wherever you are in that process, but to always, you know, when you're on the carpet and you get hit with like those heavy hitter questions in such a high powered, like quick in like scenario, like they shoot those questions at you so fast.
Yeah.
And just, I don't know, like revisiting that place mentally and emotionally, do you find it difficult, or do you kind of feel like I've done the work to move on, so like it's okay to kind of go back and have to comment on it?
Like just grieving in general, there's so many steps to it, right? Like there's so many steps and stages, and then you bounce through all those stages, you know? And I think being asked about it, it doesn't like trigger any traumas or like, but I think the issue becomes when you speak about it, what are the repercussions of it? You know, like if I asked you a question, we're sitting here and I ask you a question, you want to like tell me how you feel.
Yeah.
When you're like in a scenario there where like a reporter's like asking a question, you have to be so intentional with what you say, because one word, the headline could be completely taken out of proportion.
Right.
Or you can have an hour conversation of saying like really good quality things about someone, and then you have 10 seconds where you're giving like one bit of like, just like, but this, and then boom, that's plastered everywhere.
Yeah.
So to me, it's not about the trauma or triggering of like
being asked
or revisiting it. It's more about like, what are the repercussions to someone that once upon a time I loved and really cared about, and still do care about, and still have love for, based on my words.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's like the tricky
the
thing
tricky part, and it's a super slippery slope.
It's super slippery slope.
Yeah.
Even people that are in this space, whatever space it is, like everyone just wants to like, I feel like a lot of people label and judge.
Just want to label. They want a very like clear, concise, like here's what it is.
This is who she is.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom. Done.
There's like no gray area. Like nobody believes in a gray area. It's just like black or white. I remember like, I didn't have an answer for it, because you were asking me like, what advice would you give someone who's going through something traumatic but also having to like balance work life?
Yeah.
And I remember, I couldn't even give you an answer. I think what I said didn't even answer the question, because I realized like I had been compartmentalizing so much for the sake of the show. At least that's what I was telling myself. And then like months after the show and cameras went away, it was like I still was compartmentalizing. I still was not acknowledging where I was in grief, and to the point where I was like talking to my life coach, and I was like, I have like insane social anxiety. Like I've never had social anxiety in my life. I didn't even know what that was.
That came from the show?
No, I think it was like when we finished filming, and because I had like compartmentalized my grief during filming, and then like cameras went away and I still was compartmentalizing it. So it's kind of like I say compartmentalize, but that was really actually just like a way to ignore the grief, you know? Yeah. And my life coach asked me, she was like, how are you in your grief process? And that's when it like hit me. I was like, I actually haven't grieved. Like I've just been compartmentalizing my emotions. At first it was for the sake of the show, like let me just get through the show and then I'll deal with it, and then I never did. What would you tell someone who's going through that and like juggling work and stuff?
I use like work is numbing, but for like the big tidal waves, I'm like out of it. I'm not good. It takes me a while.
I love how like transparent you've been about just therapy and like taking care of yourself, and not only like mentally, but like even physically, like the working out, saunas, cutting out foods that cause inflammation, like all those things I think are so overlooked when you're like going through a hard time. Totally. And I love that you've been like so open about it. Like at what point, like what were you going through that made you that made you turn to therapy and like really sit down and ask yourself the hard questions?
Actually, the therapy thing's funny. I remember it was my ex who was like, you should, like, I'm a big proponent of it. You should give it a go. And I was like, I don't think I need therapy. I was I feel like, and she had explained a lot of like early childhood trauma she had, right? And I remember thinking, I'm like, honestly, I never experienced anything like that. I don't need to. She's like, just go, just give it a shot. I'm like, let's do it. So I had my consult with my therapist, and then met with her. And then I go all the time now, right? That's like 4 years ago. And she told me like a year or two after it, she goes, Jason, I have never had someone in my entire life attempt to convince me they have so little trauma and everything's perfect in their life more than you. Right? I learned quickly that like similar to the question I asked, is like I compartmentalize a lot of my feelings. I put blinders up. I ignore the hard things. I ignore red flags. I ignore the things that aren't going well, and trying to like stay in this lane of optimism. But if you stay in that lane of optimism, if you stay in that lane of just ignoring everything, all that other stuff is going to build up, and eventually it's going to just pour on you.
Yeah.
And
what do you call that? Name it to drain it?
Name it to drain it.
Yes.
You got to name how you're feeling and thinking. You got to name it to drain it. Or name it to tame it. One of the two. It's either one.
Yeah, I should probably get in therapy.
You're not in therapy?
I mean, I have a life coach, which is a form of therapy, and I've been going to her all through high school.
You went through what you went through with your brother, and you haven't gone to therapy for that?
I had suppressed it so much that I didn't even acknowledge it when I felt my life was so like upside down and crooked. It was just like we had to like have difficult conversations and like go into a headspace I didn't want to go into. It's the worst, but you have to go through it to get to the other side. And like it was just amazing how things started happening again, and like just like I felt creative. I mean, I wanted to do off season for like years. I was so excited when the show was over to like be able to work on it, but like I couldn't even touch a camera. Like I had no creativity in me. It was just the weirdest. It was like my whole life. It was like a dimmer. So like doing that work and naming it to drain it, so to speak, and like clearing it all out, did you feel when you started doing that, did you start seeing like shifts in your life as far as like your career started moving in a direction that you wanted it to, or your, like, did you feel doing that self-work, did you kind of see the exterior impact it had?
Oh my God, for sure. I think what happens is when you have like whether it could be a dog, it could be a parent, it could be a sibling, it could be a best friend, it could be a significant other. When you have some form of attachment of love and like respect to something, and then that attachment is gone, like your natural instincts are you lose confidence, you lose stability, right? So that attachment's there. You feel so good about it, it's gone. It's like it rocks your world. And for me, at least, when it rocks my world, I start to question. I become like I lose my confidence. I lose my self-worth, my value, and I start to think like, okay, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. And I remember talking to my therapist about that, like kind of that whole thing. That was back in like 2023. If I go speak at like I'll do speaking, right? And I'll speak at like a large headquarters, and this ties back to your question, I'll ask them this, and I only can ask them this because of my experience, so I'm gonna do it with you. Who is one person, like think about like a public figure, household name, or like an author, a comedian, an actress, an actor, inspirational speaker, politician, whoever it is, like who is someone you look up to that you just think of, you're like, that's someone I look up to? Like who's?
I'm gonna say Elvis Presley.
Okay, Elvis Presley. That's a great one. Why do you look
Far from politics.
And no, that's perfect though. And why? Anyway, but exactly to your point though. So Elvis Presley, the things you said, right? He lived in an era where what he was doing was extremely unacceptable.
Extremely
unacceptable.
unacceptable.
Everyone's like, "What are you doing? You're the devil. I can't believe it." But like he didn't care. It's who he was. As a result of it, he builds this like small group of following, and then it becomes an international phenomenon. And here we are, all these years talking about it.
Yeah.
Anyone that's achieved like any form of success, like a big success, like Elvis Presley, has found a way to tap into themselves at a level that other people can't tap into. I don't give a shit what anybody says. I'm going to pursue my talent. So if Elvis Presley had all that talent, but he didn't tap into himself,
right.
Elvis Presley's not Elvis Presley.
Right.
So I think that's the biggest thing, is like a truest form of happiness I have found is that when someone can find whatever their talent is. It could be anything. It could be talking, it could be singing, it could be walking, it could be math, it could be teaching.
You and I talked about
And speaking of vulnerable, we can be vulnerable with the camera crew right now. We're freezing our ass off.
freezing. I'm so sorry. I made us come out here.
We gotta tell them. We are freezing our ass off. For real.
For real. We got enough of those with your
another spicy blood
your
here.
Happy Gilmore. Do another one?
Elvis Presley. Do you think Elvis was like, well, I'm worried that these people are going to think that I'm shaking my ass and all.
He would have.
He didn't give a shit. The walls that people created, Elvis smashed them down and said, "This is where the space I'm in. Come or leave." And so I think like that's the idea. If you're trying to change your career path, like first off, good for you, because you're probably led down the path you didn't want to be down. Maybe mom, dad, sister, cousin, brother, professor put you there. And then the second thing is like, forget all these rules, stop like creating these noises that don't exist. And then the third thing is like, if you're gonna get your own path, like you have to know what drives your excitement. So we have choices every day.
Yeah.
We can do a million things every day. What are the things you naturally gravitate towards? Like, what are the things you want to do? What are the shows you're consuming, the books you're reading? Who are the people you're watching? Like, where are you excited to spend your time? And behind those things, there are billion-dollar industries. And you can work in those, and you can crush them. So why do you work in a space that you don't even have any type of excitement towards?
Yeah.
So I think those are like the big steps. But it comes with like, we create these like stereotypes. Like, do you know how many times with, you know, with trading secrets and talking about money, people are like, oh, he's just, all he cares about is money. That's actually, has nothing to do with it.
Are they listening to the podcast?
It's the opposite. It's like, my grandfather was an oral surgeon, and he got screwed over. And at 16, he sat me down and was like, you can't get screwed over. I'm going to show you how I got screwed over. And now I just have like I don't know. I woke up at like the day I was born, and I was just curious what things cost, what people make, where people lose money. I can't help it. Exactly.
And one of the things that I love that my life coach taught me, which was like a life hack, was when you start to notice the noise, the outside noise, or not even the outside noise, like your own thoughts that were perpetuating these false realities to yourself. And when you like step away from those thoughts and just observe them as only being thoughts rather than sitting in them, believing them, hearing them, and then next thing you know, like that's the space you're living in of like believing this false reality you created for yourself. But like hear your thoughts and see them as negative thoughts and like just that, and like let them pass by and that be it. And like that was like a huge game changer for me when making this transition from charm to off season, was just knowing that like this ongoing cycle of negative thinking that's all it is. It's just a negative thought, and you like let it go and let it pass. And that's something, I don't know, that was like a big game changer for me, just like in general.
Yeah, like Jim Carrey said something about that.
I love him.
He just went into this like deep thought about, here's what I took from it. What I took from it is like, this beer right here is so much more like, is real. Like, it's a beer. I can drink it. I can touch it. I can feel it. All these thoughts, there's no reality to it. Like, it's like something happening in my brain that has been sparked from something that's happened before in history, and that, like, these thoughts aren't real. They're never real unless you make them real. This is real. Like, so this beer right here has more validity than all the craziness that happens up here. And so his like takeaway of that was like, forget, like, whatever happens up here, like just control it, because it's not real. It's fake. No one's thinking about it. No one knows it. No one knows unless you say it. Nothing happens unless you do it. It's just bullshit.
Yeah.
So he's like, this, and I think it was a cup of coffee or something. It's like, this thing right here is more real than all this bullshit that happens up here.
Do you like debating?
I like playing devil's advocate. So yeah.
That's debating.
I like debating. I like debating. I think because, especially like growing up in a small city, it's like I was so, my like thought process and vision of life was like this.
Yeah. When y'all do the collaborative statement of like, we've decided to go our separate ways, like what is that conversation? Is that like PR advising, or is that like y'all mutually having a conversation and putting it out there? And it's not just you.
Which one are you referencing?
It's not like specific breakups, just in general, you know, like people in the public eye, because you're having to make that decision, which is not a normal decision. And when you break up with someone, you're not having to think about how do we need to relay this to anyone else. Is that what that conversation is like going into it? Because you're going through something that you two are dealing with, and then you got to step into this other space of how you want it to be displayed to everyone else. I'm just wondering like how that comes about. I've never had to do that, but everyone in the public figured. I mean, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie do it. Like everyone does it, and I always wonder. I want to be a fly on the wall of how that process goes down.
Yeah, with one of them, it was they came up with it, and we just touched it up and put it out together. And there's some things I took out of there. And
but if it were up to you, would you just not, like for me, if I'm going through something, my initial reaction is like, just don't say anything, let it blow over. I don't want to talk about it. But are you kind of, but in the career we're in, we don't really get that. Yeah. That's not advised. It's like you got to get ahead of it and like put it out there. So like, how do you feel about doing that? Like joint breakup statements.
What happens is, I mean, just the reality is like, you end up showing your life, you show your relationship, you end up breaking up or going through a hard time. Clearly, when you're going through that hard time, you're not going out there being like, life is great, we just had our wedding day.
Yeah.
And then it's like pressure starts coming in hot. So like there's an excessive amount of DMs, there's an excessive amount of comments, then there becomes emails, then there becomes press.
And then it's kind of like when there's silence, it allows other people to like fill in the blanks.
It's just like, it's like snow on a house. It just keeps building and building until you almost, I know it sounds ridiculous, but you feel obligated to share something.
It doesn't sound ridiculous at all. It's a liberating feeling to feel like, oh, I can just say no. Or like if someone's asking me this question and they're like deep into my business. Like I've seen like the videos with you, like you're literally on the carpet having a good time and then someone like pulls you aside and asks you some like absurd question and you handle them greatly, by the way. I feel like you should definitely start a PR like division in your company. I'm not kidding. But are there any, like, without saying names, are there any platforms that you, or like media platforms that you intentionally like stay clear of when doing any kind of interviews, or like, you know what, I don't really appreciate how they put out information, so I'm gonna avoid it? Or are you so confident in like, I know I'm true to myself and what I'm gonna say, like what they want to do with it, that's whatever? Or are you
there's certain like platforms that will spin it 100%, media outlets, and then
talking to those gives me like,
oh, I hate
like
it.
hives.
Like the worst thing is talking to someone at like a media outlet, because what I said earlier is like every single word has to be so selective because it could be used so differently.
Do you like recommend that your clients don't talk to them, or are you more like helping them, like here's what you need to expect, here's how they could spin it? Or are you more like avoid it, don't talk to them?
It just depends on the circumstance. You know what I mean? I think in general though, the biggest thing, like if you had to say like, what do you think you recommend most? What I recommend most is like, either speak to what you want to speak about on your platform and not someone else's, and let them take those words, and or do it on someone you trust platform, like a podcast or something like that. Because if you go to just working with one, everyone can think of the magazine outlets and you just work with those people on a story, it can move a lot of ways.
Yeah.
People want to judge and then speculate and then make a decision. If there's enough wind in the sail, those people are going to think what they want to think anyway, but if there's enough wind in the sail, that's going to sail for a long time. So if you're making a speculation on something, like someone did this, and you don't have facts, it will die if it's not true.
Right.
If it's real,
it's going to keep riding out.
It's going to keep going. It's going to keep, literally, exactly. No, exactly that. Like we saw the one video, and we were just like, how could you ever do anything like this? And then people started talking, the truth surfaces, and there's enough wind in that sail that it's done, it's over. But with so many people, we want to speculate, we want to judge, we want to label, and then you quickly see, so there's nothing to support it.
Do you think like the time you've had in like talent management and PR and, just you being a public figure, has it kind of taught you to question or always look at things, like when something's put out there or like accusations put out there, are you the first to like look at, be the devil's advocate because you know how things can get spent, you understand the business from the inside out, so has that 100%. So when something comes out, it's like,
I'm always like
I have trust issues when it comes to anything that comes out.
I'm done. Words like literally words mean nothing to me anymore. It's just like I used to be a words of affirmation guy.
Put that on a dating app. Words mean nothing to him.
No, literally, no. I used to be a words of affirmation guy. I'm like, okay, prove it. Let me see the action. Okay, I've heard it all. I've seen it all.
You're like, I only fuck with numbers.
And I'm they don't lie. But I've seen the spin. Oh my God, the spins I've seen personally. Yeah. And with other people, it's just it's crazy. It's like it's unbelievable.
Also, it's like going back on like people commenting and stuff. Shep, one of the first things he said to me when the whole charm stuff started happening, and I was like going to him, I was like, damn, these people are kind of relentless on the comments. And he said to me, and it landed so well, and I took it with me ever since, but he goes, the people who are leaving those nasty comments, he goes, you wouldn't even want to be in the same room with them. You would never be in the same room as them. You wouldn't even want to be at the same dinner table. You wouldn't be in their presence. So like, why are you giving air to like what they're saying on your comments? And I was like, that's so true. And like, it really did. It's like ignorance is bliss, but like that just carried me so far, knowing like, why am I going to care so much about what this person says when they're people that I wouldn't care to interact with in real life?
Yeah,
like, did you think that was good feedback?
Yeah,
like the people who say that, like that's not a person that you would want to be friends with.
Yeah, I think about it even like deeper than like, I think about it deeper, like that's
for
a
sure.
person that
no,
like.
that's a person who's like, damn it,
They're
like have they
fucked
had
up.
their, no,
like,
for
like,
sure.
If they're coming out there just screaming
just,
at you for something that.
Thanks for picking up the slack.
You got that.
Okay, well, shall we wrap up?
Let's do it. How do you want to
We didn't
wrap
have
up?
an exit.
An exit.
Well, I have to pee, but I can think of something more creative.
That's actually pretty funny.